7 o'clock. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, everybody. One announcement before the prayer. The gentleman saying the prayer is Pastor Barry of Haven Church, 59th Avenue and Cactus. Those of you in Maricopa County, particularly those of you on the near west side, we recommend you check them out if you're looking for a welcoming experience. Denise and I went last Sunday. Brian and Ashley have been going. They're very welcoming. They're Bible-based. They're authentic, and we're proud to have them here with us. The prayer, Pastor Barry, please. I need you up here in front of the camera. You're talking to people all over the...
No pressure. Well, let's go to Jesus because he takes the pressure away. God, thank you so much for your people. Thank you for what you've done in my life. You've taken a broken vessel and done some cool stuff out of it. God, I pray that we would be that. I pray there would be people that respond to your word, and that your word would be truth, and that it would set the captive free. It would heal families. It would restore relationships and provide the true freedom that we all need, and that is in you and through you. God, be with this meeting tonight. May salvation happen. May healing happen. And may you receive all the glory through everything that is said and done. Be with Joe tonight. I pray, would you speak through him tonight, your servant. And I pray all this in the powerful, powerful name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Barry. I'm wearing green. We're as close to St. Patrick's Day as we're going to be. We'll be past it then. Those of us here at the meeting ate corned beef and cabbage. The rest of you, sorry you missed out. Not too sorry, though. For those of you joining us online, perhaps you don't know what we do here. We've been doing this for lots of years. We take a look at the suggested instruction for a step or so a week directly out of this book, and we use this book in 12-step recovery. Why? Yeah, the process described by the authors of this book's been proven to work for addicts of the hopeless variety, addicts to alcohol and other substances and other behavioral disorders. And so what we attempt to do is show you how to find your experience in the book, because this is a book of experience by the authors. And so my role, week in, week out, over all these many years, is to show you how I find my experience and encourage you to have yours. Does that make sense? I'm not trying to tell you what this book says. If it looks like it, then one of us is mistaken. But I'm trying very distinctly to just show you how to have the book examine you. I had a pastor friend of mine tell me one time that his relationship with the Bible was that it was the one book he had found in all his time in prison, that while you examine it, it examines you. This book does that as well. So what we want to do, because it's a book of experience, is show you how to experience it. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so tonight we're in steps 5, 6, and 7. The founders, the Bobs and the Bills of the early, pioneers of AA, said this is the step that separates the men from the boys. I know that's a bit sexist in today's world, but what he was trying to say is everything up to now was blind, but by 5, 6, and 7, my eyes have been opened. You guys that are students of the other book, On the Road to Damascus, Paul had an experience that changed his life. Well, those of us that come into recovery, we may be agnostic, we may be atheist, or we may be believers that are dying in our addiction. But to a person, these 100 witness that they came to believe in this power they found within themselves. Does that make sense? So we're going to try and impart that. And by 4, my eyes were opened in the process of looking in to find out what I was like, what happened, and what I'm like now. Yes? And so now I'm going to share that with another, and then I'm going to prep for the rest of my life now that my eyes are open. I know what thy ministry looks like. Yeah, and any of you that don't understand that about 12-step recovery, it's subtle evangelism. I told Denise today what it is it's, for those of you who are out of that other book, it's evangelists to Nineveh. because we're not looking for their biblical credentials. We're just wanting to know if they've got the signature of the Spirit on them so we can wake them up. Make sense? All right, so what I want to do is go to chapter 6, into action. And they make an assumption here, and they've got some promises. It says, having made our personal inventory, what shall we do about it? So they're assuming by the time you're reading this chapter, you've made a personal inventory. Is that true for most of you? Yes. Was it true the first time through? No, that's why no one can read this book on their own. That's the mystery of it. Really, the author's spirit is on the book, and the spirit they speak about is on the book, but someone has to show you and call to your attention the spirit as it awakens within you. And so we all know what to do about it once someone helps us with that process, yes? Okay. So we've been trying to get a new attitude, a new relationship with our Creator, and to discover the obstacles in our path. Is that what you've been trying to do? And those of you that are following me online, you may not know that's what you've been trying to do. Remember, half the original fellowship were atheists or agnostics in the beginning. So we don't want to leave you there. But the reason, from a purely secular viewpoint, I would want a new relationship with Creator is what I've learned through the process is my relationship with Creator is my relationship with creation. So if I'm having a difficult time in creation, might want to check in with Creator. Logical, right? Okay. So I want a new relationship because I had found my existence challenging. Yes? Yes. Okay. And then discover the obstacles in our path. How many of you have had obstacles in your path? How many of you were surprised to learn that what you thought were the obstacles were not the obstacles at all? Yeah, prison, addiction, homelessness, all kinds of guilt, shame, and remorse provoking. The obstacle wasn't the loss of freedom, it was the loss of identity. Yes? Yes. Some of us went places where they called us by a number, not a name. Or they gave us another name. Or maybe society gave us a name. So what we're trying to do is restore identity, and that may require that you walk through some obstacles physically, but the obstacles in your path are your path to prepare you for where you're going. Does that make sense? Okay, so we've admitted certain defects, and we've ascertained in a rough way what the trouble is. We've put our finger on the weak items in our personal inventory. So those of you that have done an inventory, is that true? Yes. And in a rough way, what is the trouble? Fear. And it forms all these manifestations of self, driven by 100 forms of fear, self-seeking, self-pity, self-delusion. I step on the toes of my fellows and they retaliate. And sometimes they hurt me, seemingly without provocation. But I invariably find that at some time in the past, I made decisions based on self, which later placed me in a position to hurt. See, I won't know that if I don't go back through the inventory and get my eyes open, will I? And this goes on for a whole lifetime, folks, right? I still make decisions based on self. So when I find myself in a position where I'm feeling hurt, it's not out there. It's what time in the past did I make a decision that placed me here now? What's my lesson? Make sense? Okay. All right. So then it says, now these are about to be cast out. Now that is good news. Doesn't say I'm going to cast them out. It says they're about to be cast out. What are these that are about to be cast out? The weak items in my personal inventory. If you could have the weak items in you cast out, wouldn't you want to sign up? Yes. Okay. Remember, this is their experience and their experience with the first several thousand. This is not theories and this is not therapeutics. This makes sense. This is just what happened. All right. So this requires action, which when completed will mean that we have admitted to God. Power. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, we're a fun bunch. Half of our original fellowship were atheists or agnostics, right? Declared. So we don't want to lose anyone because of a prejudice they may have about a certain term. So when we say God, power, what we're really talking about is power found within. None of you should have a problem if you substitute the word power, and I'm not talking about old HP pointing outside of yourself. I'm talking about power, peace, happiness, sense of direction flowing into you. Does that make sense? And that's what we seek, because that's what delivers us. Yes? Okay. And then it says, that means that we have admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our defects. Now, I'm going to have done the inventory work to have found that nature, aren't I? And it's somewhere in those fear-driven self-manifestations. This brings us to the fifth step in the program of recovery mentioned in the preceding chapter. This is perhaps difficult. I think that's one of the most important things these guys did, is they showed empathy right away and acknowledged all of our fears unspoken. Yes, we know you're afraid, but you know more about you and this power now than you did before we started. And when you get to the other side of this, you're going to know even more. Does that make sense? So especially discussing our defects with another person. How many of you came into recovery room, saw those steps on the wall, and yeah, because some of us have a past, right? There's no human being that doesn't have a past, but some of us have past. So we think we have done well enough in admitting these things to ourselves. How many times have we self-deluded ourselves into that? I won't do that again. Hope no one saw that. So what they said is there's doubt about that. In actual practice, we usually find a solitary self-appraisal insufficient. That means they tried it and it didn't work. So by all means, try it. Just have the courage to admit it didn't work, right? Because this is a book of mistakes they made to awaken to who they really were. And all of us make a few mistakes waking up to who we really are. All right? So then it says, many of us thought it necessary to go much further. We'll be more reconciled to discussing ourselves with another person when we see good reasons why we should do so. So always a reason, right? If you're going to grow in conscious relation, by 11, we're going to improve our conscious contact. That means you're aware that you're aware. Consciousness is an awareness of being aware. There's power in me and on me, but it is not of me. Does that make sense? And so I'm not going to ever do that unless I know that it's tangible and sensory. Yes? Which is why we introduced you to that tangible power we call God in two without using the word God. Right? And focused you where and how. Where and how do we find the power? And how do we find it? Sometimes we have to search fearlessly so we can get armed with the facts. Yes? Okay. All right. So the best reason first, if we skip this vital step, we may not overcome drinking. So you got to ask yourself, for whatever reason you came to recovery, did you come to overcome it, or are you just resting? People chuckle, but it's a nervous chuckle. How many of you, if you don't allow an amen, say ouch. Some of us have gone to hide out in recovery rooms to fade the heat. Some of us have gone to recovery rooms because it got me out of the rack. Some of us have gone to recovery rooms because we like somebody we chased in there. Right? My main objective was not to overcome that which I thought I needed to survive. But if I'm serious about this, I'll be honest with myself. Doesn't matter what I'm doing to you. I'm not capable of being honest with you if I'm not capable of being honest with me. Right? Okay. So time after time, newcomers have tried to keep to themselves certain facts about their life. At this point, I'd like to point out to all of you watching us online everywhere, Stephan in Philadelphia, thanks for reaching out this week. Patrick up in Minnesota, thanks for calling me this week. And you guys in Norman, Oklahoma, Jesse, haven't heard from you in a while. All you people listening to us on delay in the UK, all of you up in Edmonton, Bob, give us a shout. We want to talk. Anyway, trying to avoid this humbling experience, they've turned to easier methods. Almost invariably, they got drunk. How many of you have had an experience of relapse? So we got all kinds of reasons why people will tell us that happened, but the authors are pretty clear. It happens because we don't know our own motives because of our illness, and we keep trying to be self-reliant when self-reliance won't save us. It's just that simple. Does it make sense? And so there's not a number of meetings you can go to, or a number of books, or a number of quotes you can make. If you're not in relationship, everyone who is knows. And if you're not in relationship and you don't want to be, that's on you. But if you're not in relationship and you do want to be, then that's on me to make sure you get that opportunity. And it's the business of everyone in this room and everyone in the sound of my voice to say the same thing. Make sense? All right. So having persevered with the rest of the program, they wondered why they fell. How many of you did everything you thought you should do and still had trouble? So maybe it's because no one ever told you there is no rest of the program. It's a manner of living. If you're still drawing air, you're not done. I agreed in 3 to advocate for brother and sister as long as I had breath in my lungs. So that's my job. Yeah? So if you're not working with others and actively testifying to the change, what happened, what I was like, what I'm like now, and you're not a living, walking example, giving credit to the power, his love, his way of life, then that's why you're gonna get caught up in the world of illusion again. Make sense? All right. So we think the reason is that they never completed their house cleaning. See, the house cleaning requires that I go where I'm led in the spirit, and I hand out the healing I was freely given to somebody else who presents to receive it. And the neat thing is, healed people heal people. So we can reach them when no one else can. So for us to sit on our laurels is really, really selfish. We need to go let people examine what's been done for us and what's now being done through us. Yes? So they took inventory all right, but hung on to some of the worst items in stock. How many of you have done that? Maybe you described it as, oh, that's what I'm funny, right? Any of you ever been sarcastic? Sarcasm is one of those things where we think we're quite clever, and oftentimes it's biting, and depending on someone's level of awareness, it feels like we're making fun of them. Anyway, so that's not a theory. I was working with adults with serious mental illness, and I'm up there being clever. And one of them came up to me after the group and said to me, "Joe, we like you. Why are you making fun of us?" So I never did that again, because I was convicted that was how I made me comfortable at the expense of them. Does that make sense? So they only thought they had lost their egoism and fear. They only thought they had humbled themselves. The thoughts in italics, why? Yeah, the main problem center is in the mind. I can't think my way into a state of being. When I'm self-aware, I'm not in my being. Does that make sense? It's very elusive. I have to pour myself completely into them in order to meet their needs, in order to be an instrument. Yes? How many of you have noticed that when you're working with people? Oftentimes you know what they're trying not to tell you before they can tell you. Have you noticed that? You guys have sponsored guys and sat, men and women, you watched them crying, or they didn't cry. They had a smile on their face because that was their mask, and you were crying because you were carrying their pain for them. The Spirit did that for you. Those are tangible examples, if you do this work, that you will know who you are and whose you are, which is what we want to walk you out of here. Okay. So you can't think or act your way into a state of being. You can only be in a state of being. So I'm going to have to go out and do it. There's another book. They bring it up here several times. They say faith without works is dead, because faith is an observable act. It allows people to be attracted to the way and come. Yes? So it says, but they had not learned enough of humility, fearlessness, and honesty in the sense we find it necessary until they told someone else all their life story. All's in italics. Why? It's always important, because they wouldn't back then, you had to reset the typeface, everything. You didn't just push a button to change the font like that. So when they took the time for a 3-letter word to say all, they want you to pay attention. instructionally, how many of you thought your life was going to end when you stopped doing whatever it was you were doing? Or at least it was going to be so boring you hoped it would end. How many found out that until that day that you had that encounter and followed through on the decision for the first time, maybe in a long time, you hadn't lived until that time? So you go in and then you come out and you live abundantly, don't you? There's another book that verifies that, yeah? Okay, so more than most people, the alcoholic leads a double life. So pay attention if this might resonate with you. He's very much the actor. To the outer world, he presents his stage character. This is the one he likes his fellows to see. He wants to enjoy a certain reputation, but knows in his heart he doesn't deserve it. Now they're telling you the tangible sensory nature of conviction. I want to be this, but I know I'm that. Does that make sense? So it has a feel, because I felt a lot of you feel it there. We want to call to our attention what's going on in you. Pay attention to what this word is doing to you, because that's what's important. Okay. As the inconsistency is worse by the thing that does his sprees. So how many had a few sprees? How many of you don't even remember you had to read reports? Coming to his senses, revolted at certain episodes he vaguely remembers. These memories are a nightmare. He trembles to think someone might have abused him. As fast as he can, he pushes memories far inside himself. He hopes they'll never solve the day. Where did they say the power was found? Deep down inside. Same place I'm trying my garbage. Doesn't sound like a very good idea. Seems to be a human plan. So if we want to be delivered from that condition, we're going to have to stop doing that. We're going to have to be authentic. Yes? So it says he's under constant tension. The doctor who was not alcoholic, the alcoholic when not drinking, if in this solution, were restless, irritable, contented, unless they could again experience the sense of ease and comfort that comes at once from taking a few drinks. That's what he said. Right? And so what we learn is we're not talking abstinence, we're talking spiritual inebriation. We're talking a flow of the Spirit from within, which is more profound when we're sharing it. Does it make sense? And then rely on the promise when you're not feeling it, because just because you're not feeling it doesn't mean it's not there. Okay? So he's under constant fear and tension, and that makes for more drinking. Psychologists are inclined to agree with us. So how many of you psychologists, psychiatrists, health professionals, how many of you jail sentence or a prison sentence? Then you saw some, whether you knew it or not. How many of you showed up at the ER to get, because you found out the way the system worked? If you showed up messed up enough, they'd give you some far superior substance, uninterrupted. So psychologists are inclined to agree with us. We've spent thousands of dollars for examinations. So we've concluded that we either spent our money or somebody's money for these. Yeah. Did you tell them the whole truth? Never. Did you follow their advice? No. We know but few instances where we've given these doctors a fair break. We've seldom told them the whole truth, nor have we followed their advice. I call that to your attention because those of you that are feeling condemnation, that's not the point. We want you to feel empathy. We want you to feel the enlightenment of peer support. Yes? Yes. So, unwilling to be honest with these sympathetic men, we were honest with no one else. Is that true? Yeah. How many people do you have to lie to? Any prescription drug addicts here? How many people do we have to lie to about that? I had 13 states worth of doctors I had to lie to. That was exhausting. And you know why I had 13 states worth of doctors? Because it wasn't interconnected then, and you could stay hooked up. Anyway, small wonder many in the medical profession have a low opinion of alcoholics and their chance for recovery. Did you have that discovery? Did you have people tell you you were exhibiting drug-seeking behavior? Did it annoy you? Because they called you out, or because you're pretty sure you weren't going to get what you came for? Yeah, that's a bummer when they ain't buying my beef. It's bad. Okay, we must be entirely honest with somebody if we expect to live long or happily in this world. Who's this somebody I got to be entirely honest with? Me and my innermost self. Right? Everyone starts looking outward, but that person that's going to hear my story is just going to mirror for me non-judgment, so that I know that I'm not judged by the Creator who sent him. Make sense? So rightly and naturally, we think well before we choose the person or persons with whom to take this intimate and confidential step. So how many of you have had a little trepidation about asking somebody? Yeah. Because you didn't want to bother them, or you liked them and you wanted them to like you, and you didn't want them to learn about you, what they're fixing to learn about you. All of the above. I'd always like to tell people, I don't care where you meet us. If you meet us here and we're in the Spirit, you're not going to tell us anything we haven't heard. It's not going to affect us in any way. And I will tell you this, if it has a name, you didn't invent it. So, those of us belonging to a religious denomination which requires confession must, and of course will, want to go to the properly appointed authority whose duty it is to receive it. If you have a religious practice that requires confession, by all means, go to confession. Do not necessarily substitute that for your AA work. The two together will augment the other. Does it make sense? Though we have no religious connection, we may still do well to talk with someone ordained by an established religion. Very common with people in justice-involved community because it's protected, right? Members of the clergy, what they have to say, or it's protected. We often find such a person quick to see and understand our problem. What's our problem? Yeah, that's the thing. If they don't understand this process, this process is supposed to reveal to me my identity and the fears and the manifestations of self that obscured that identity from me. And if they don't know that's what I'm trying to do, they're not the right person to help me do this. Does it make sense? I'm not talking about their credentials. I mean, they could have fine credentials, but I need someone that knows why. I need somebody that knows, look, the truth about me is difficult. But the truth I found in me is the truth, not my truth, not your truth, the truth. And I was an addict of the hopeless variety. People like me don't live, but I do live. Does that make sense? Okay. So, of course, we sometimes encounter people who do not understand alcoholics, to the point I was just making. How many of you have run into people who do not understand alcohol? How many of you were surprised where you met them? Because we meet them in our halls. We meet them in our homes. We meet them behind our own eyes. How many of you have been self-condemning because of your behavior? It was preparatory for what's coming. So believe in the one he sent. How many of you have got mad at someone you were trying to help because they acted like an addict? Yeah, if you're picking them up at bus stops and taking them home, expect to be robbed, dude. That's what's up. That's what we do. So if we cannot or would rather not do this, we search our acquaintance for a closed-mouth understanding friend. So if you're endeavoring to help people now in this manner of living, that's what you're trying to grow into, as a closed-mouth understanding friend. Yes? Perhaps our doctor or psychologist will be the person that may be one of our own family, but we cannot disclose anything to our wives or our parents which will hurt them and make them unhappy. We have no right to save our own skin at another person's expense. Such parts of our story we tell to someone who will understand, yet be unaffected. So this is how you got to grow in the Spirit, because a lot of times we have prejudice we don't know about until someone discloses something about themselves to us, and we're not there to judge them. We're there to act as a vessel of healing for them. Yeah. So if I find that I'm affected by what I'm learning, I need to recuse myself, not point at them. I need to get you someone who is not affected by this path you've taken. Does it make sense? Okay, So I understand you're in your search for the truth and I'm unaffected by that truth and we can proceed. Or I understand you're in your search for the truth and I am affected by that and I need to recuse. Right? Either way, it shouldn't be dismissive or shaming. It makes sense? All right. So, and you're probably cheating yourself out of healing you need, by the way. By continuing to judge, there's another book that says, judge not lest ye be judged. How can you see the speck in your brother's eye when you can't see the plank in your own eye? You know what I mean? That maybe the one thing I need to get the plank out of my eye is to let the healing that he needs flow through me so I get it too. Make sense? All right. So the rule is we must be hard on ourselves, but always considerate of others. Notwithstanding the great necessity for discussing ourselves with someone, it may be that one is so situated that there is no suitable person available. Do you think that's true? No. Here we are in Phoenix, Arizona. 6 million people in the Greater Valley, right? Or some crazy number like that. You think there's no one available? Does it matter what I think? Matters what they think. If we're going to serve this power, we got to meet them where they are because that's where the only place he meets us is where we are. Make sense? So if they don't think any suitable person available, then we need to just change the subject, talk about something else. Right? All right. So if that is so, the step may be postponed only, however, if we hold ourselves in complete readiness to go through it at the first opportunity. So it's back to me personally. If I want to grow spiritually, it's on me. Right? And we got to tell them that too. Look, dude, ain't nothing personal. We can be friends. But if you don't want to grow spiritually, you're wasting your time with me because that's all I'm about. Right? But if you do want to grow spiritually and you just don't understand, then let's chat about that. What is it you don't understand? Yeah? Okay. So it's important that he be able to keep confidence. How many of you just don't trust people, so you don't want to tell them? I hear it all the time. And we've got a lot of lived experience that tells us trusting people isn't always a good plan. That he fully understand and approve what we're driving at, and he will not try and change our plan. So how many of you had a plan that you didn't want to share because you didn't want to be talked out of it? So they're really doing, all they're asking you to do is do some self-examination. What's your motive in this interaction? Yes? Because it's not I am always doing my 12 step, not yours. I'm doing my 12 step right now, not yours. Does that make sense? I'm guaranteed a spiritual awakening as a result of this teaching, regardless of how you receive it. But I got to keep doing it. And in all the time I've done this and all the thousands of people that have been within the sound of my voice, the only one I know for sure that's completely redeemed from this is me. The rest of you, it's all personal. Does that make sense? I don't get to claim any credit. This is just what we do. All right. But we must not use this as a mere excuse to postpone. When we decide who is to hear our story, we waste no time. So they're telling us something about what's going to happen to us within us when we're ready. We're going to find ourselves telling the story without all those doubts and fears. How many of you had that happen to you? And you held back for how many years before that? Right? I'm just trying to call your attention to experiences that are shared experiences. All right, so we have a written inventory. That's just what preparation looks like. If I'm really ready, it's not enough because faith without works is dead. If I'm really ready to have a discussion, then I should have something to discuss. And if I don't, I should be honest that I cannot produce it. I was so sick, so I was so sick with delirium tremens and other things, opiates, all kinds of stuff. I could not write because I could not hold a pencil. And the fellow who met me saw that, and he says, give me the paper, tell me the story, and go slow, and spell out every word. Because he didn't have much of a vocabulary, and it was kind of wacky. But it took hours, but that's what happened. When we were done, I had the story. Does that make sense? So we don't know what it looks like, but there's a reason that we're not moving forward. If we're encountering, it's not because they won't necessarily, it's maybe because they can't, right? And it's my job to try and sort that out. I'm not going to try and convince you. If you're won't, if you're a will not, then you do you. But I need to spend enough time to make sure they just are not misunderstanding what we're about, right? And if they're not capable, then I carry their burdens, right? That's our obligation. All right, so we have a written inventory and we're prepared for a long talk. We explain to our partner what we're about to do and why we have to do it. Now you can see they wrote this book, thought they'd send it out in the country, people would read it and recover on their own. And they found out they needed a human vessel to deliver it. But one guy claimed to have done it. They gave him money for a bus ticket. When he got to New York, he was too drunk to get off the bus. So his chapter ain't in here. How I recovered on my own ain't here. So he should realize that we're engaged upon a life and death errand. Boy, do we know that? Us in the trenches, we know that, right? We didn't think we knew anything about it. When we were out there, we weren't paying any attention. You could die. Yeah, when? Give me something I can use. But when we really start to grow in this and see how deadly this is, and people are fine one day and gone the next, most people approached in this way will be glad to help. They'll be honored by our confidence. Those of you who are afraid to ask because you don't want to trouble people, it is a position of honor to be asked to serve. The Son of Man came to serve rather than to be served. When you reach out, you're healing, your hand needing healing, it is our job to take it. Yes? So we pocket our pride and go to it. Do the whole mental picture of that. Because everyone's got that going on. What if I say this? What if I say that? Maybe I can spin it to make me look just a little less heinous. Right? Maybe we can avoid that or talk in code. Any of you? As someone who's heard lots of these, I'm going to tell you what I've always told them. You cannot lie to me without my permission. So you can go ahead and lie, but you didn't lie to me. And you didn't lie to the power in me. So the only one of the three of us you're lying to is you. So you might want to change your plan, even though I'm not supposed to try and talk you out of it. All right. So illuminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. Once we have taken this step, withholding nothing, we are delighted. Guys, claim that promise. Show that to everyone that you take through a fifth step and ask them how they feel. Because a high percentage of them they may not use the word delighted because it's kind of an old underused word now. But I'll tell you, they'll all tell you they feel unburdened. They all feel different to a person. And show them that they're now thoroughly on the path. Does it make sense? Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. If you are delighted here, now that your eyes are open, you're there. That don't mean there's not work to do, but we now know who you are and whose you are, squarely. Yes, even if you don't. Does it make sense? Okay, so then it says we can look the world in the eye. How many of you had that difficulty? Could not. Always averting gaze. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Where's my meth addicts? Alone at perfect peace and ease? You guys are never alone, right? Cocaine addicts? Where are you guys? There's all kinds of creatures running around. And that happens to us drinkers too, by the way. If you drink long enough and cut it off, man, the room is full of spirits. You don't think so? I, one time, was convinced I had strings growing out of my mouth, and I tried to cut them out with a commando knife. I cut out most of my teeth. Most of these teeth are not mine. That's pretty involved with the spirit realm. Anyway, I don't know why they were putting strings in my mouth. Anyway. Unexplained. Our fears fall from us. What'd they say before? We're driven by fear. Now they're falling off of us. The atmospherics around us have changed. Yes? We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. Why do I want a new relationship with Creator? Because I can feel His nearness. How many of you felt like you were alone too many times? How many of you got in trouble when you were alone? How do you think it'll go for you when you realize you're never alone? You're not alone. Okay. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. See how they're separating the idea of belief from experience? That's how you're going to find each other from now on. The signature of the Spirit is on you, and when it's someone you're there to help, you'll feel it on them. And that means no matter how hopeless that case looks, you would not be shown that purpose without the power to carry it out. So it's a matter of your unbelief. And, you're going to have to figure out what it takes, right? Not alone. Don't cut parts off or anything. Listen, prayer, meditation, figure it out, right? All right. So we're not talking about beliefs. We're talking about experience. We're with, and that experience they're talking about resides within us as power, peace, happiness, and a sense of direction. Yes? And it can be improved upon. So this is working my way into prayer for power to go into the fitness step, the making of amends. And then the big amends awaits me carrying this message to the world. Yes? The other alcoholics and whoever else. So the feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. Promise and a warning. You may think you're done. You've gone farther than you've ever gone. I feel so much better. But if you do not continue, it fades. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we have this thing going on in this realm of this illusion of control. And without the comfort of the Spirit, we have no way to interpret the illusion. Does it make sense? So, and again, we have a control addiction, substance use, behavioral disorders. Those were symptoms of my underlying spiritual malady. So if I'm not given credit, if I'm not bearing witness, I'm not keeping up the maintenance. Does it make sense? So there's another book that says, by the blood of the Lamb and the word of my testimony, all the evil schemes are cast down. Yeah. Okay, so we feel we're on broad highway, walking hand in hand with the Spirit of the universe. What's that feel like? So some of you know that. Some of you got restored to that. Some of you just don't know yet. But most of us know the experience of not ever feeling quite comfortable. Thinking I had to be perfect and knowing I wasn't. Walking a tightrope. But on the broad highway, if I stumble, it's all right. It's going to be all right. Yeah? Okay. So returning home, we find a place where we can be quiet for an hour. That's very specific. Yes? Then it says carefully reviewing what we've done. So what have we done? I've shared what I discovered in 4 during a 5 with that other human being. That may take place over days. I don't know. It didn't for me, but it may for others. You may revisit it because you awaken to more going on with you. You find new struggles as you grow in the Spirit, and you need to do it again. So don't be ashamed to take another look at it. All of us are happy to help you do it. Make sense? Yeah. So carefully reviewing what we've done. And then it says start with a prayer. Now think of the power of this. Half of them were atheists or agnostics beginning. But by this stage, their eyes are open. And to a man and woman, we thank God from the bottom of our heart that we know him better. Because most of us did not get here on a winning streak, did we? So when some people say, well, he meets you where you are, and they look all pretty and tidy for Sunday morning, we're thinking, you should have seen where he met me. But when it's real, because it isn't bragging, it's not about me trying to impress you with how low I've been. I want to impress you with how low he was willing to go to lift me up. All right, so taking this book down from our shelf, we turn to the page which contains the 12 steps. So we're going to do that in just a minute. Carefully reading the first 5 proposals, we ask if we omitted anything, for we're building an arch through which we shall walk a free man at last. How's that for a promise? He is the cornerstone, right? And this arch is going to be made up of all these stones of those people I would help with his love, his power, his way of life. And I'm going to walk right out through that into a new life as soon as I get the power to do so. Right? So then they want to ask a couple questions. Is our work solid so far? Are the stones properly in place? Have we skimped on the cement put into the foundation? Have we tried to make mortar without sand? So they're asking you a few questions, and I want to go back to page 59 and see if our work's solid so far, because it'd be silly to skip that and not follow directions, wouldn't it? All right, so step one, we admitted. So who's we? The first 100, and it is their testimony about their experience in the first several thousand. So the whole book is testimony. And I call that to your attention because many people in our fellowships think they're the we. No, you're not. No, you're not. And we don't want to alter another's testimony. We want to find ourselves in it. Does that make sense? Yes. So you will join them. It says a vision for you in the back of the book. Surely you'll meet some of us as you trudge this road of happy destiny. Yes? But they're talking about when you're in the Spirit, you'll meet them in the Spirit. All of the authors of this book are dead. They prophetically told you would meet them in the Spirit, and we do every Thursday. Does it make sense? And it's our job to continue paying this unending debt that was paid to us. Right? Paid for us. Okay. So we admitted we were powerless over alcohol. Powerless when? Yeah, that's the tricky thing. Some people want to tell you, well, if you just stop for a while, you'll be good. And some of us have tried to stop for a while. It's not as good a plan as one might think. And substitution isn't always the best plan. So if you really want to grow in the Spirit, then you're going to have to deny yourself synthetic spirits. And I'm not prescribing here. I'm just telling you, if you want to grow in consciousness, you've got to do things that don't block your consciousness. Yeah? So that our lives had become unmanageable. What did they talk to us about the unmanageable life? Talk to us. What? Yeah. Yeah. So you want to go over that real quick? Because a lot of times we make the admission in one, but it's an act of faith, and we don't get disclosed to us until step 2 in our encounter what those things are. Yeah. So said we had to ask ourselves why we shouldn't apply to our human problems the same readiness to change our point of view. We were having trouble with personal relationships. Yes, true. Some of us come from multiple broken relationships and broken homes and marriages, and yes, and we're not relating very well to society, and that's how we finally get to a state of surrender. Yeah. We couldn't control our emotional natures. Any of you ragers? Any of you clinically depressed? Yeah, I mean, people joke about that, but depression is anger without enthusiasm. It grabs you and holds you down, right? And now I got nowhere to go with this anger, and it's really oppressive, right? Couldn't control our emotional natures. We're prey to misery and depression. There's a thief talked about in that other book, prowls around like a roaring lion, right? Prey to misery and depression. And I'm an easy target when I'm there. Yeah. The doctor said I'd be restless, irritable, and discontent unless I can gain access to this ease and comfort. Does that make sense? If the book's talking to you, then we really need to keep going, right? Okay. All right. So we couldn't make a living. Now, I'm not saying you couldn't get a job. Most of us had a good hustle. But it was just a hustle. And we may not show up for it once we get the deal sold, especially if you give us money first. You give me money for materials, you may never see me again, right? Okay. We had a feeling of uselessness. How many of you time in sobriety, but weren't doing the whole deal and just got feeling miserable, purposeless existence? That's why we need to do the whole manner of living, because this is what I'm really treating, right? Feeling of uselessness. We were full of fear. We were unhappy. We couldn't seem to be of real help to other people. Almost at the core of every story I meet in recovery, they desperately wanted to help people. They were just bitter because of the way people received the help, and they didn't know they were being manipulative. They didn't know they were being manipulated because they had no way in this world of illusion to navigate it. Does it make sense? So then it says it was not a basic solution to these bedevilments more important than whether we should see newsreels of lunar flight. But that's the unmanageability that I was managing successfully, I thought, with alcohol and drugs. Right? No matter how bad it was, if I got enough dope, I can make it different. Okay, so that's the unmanageability of my life. And that even when I take the drugs away, the unmanageability does not go away, which is why many of us return. Yes? Because that's a human thing. So it says, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sin. So they're going to focus on power, not theologies. They're going to focus on relationship, not religion. And we're going to draw everybody in as long as they are not scared off by what we're putting out. And we're going to try and be inoffensive in what we put out without denying the truth. Does that make sense? Because I'm talking about my experience, right? Okay. So made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. So as we understood him is in italics. They did that for a reason. Over the years, people have said it's a God of your understanding. That is not what they said. They told you how they understood this power. Like a cool wind of a mountaintop blowing through and through. I was 3 at last, right? I mean, the famous atheist talked all about the sensory overload he went through when he had this encounter. That's what they understood when he was in the churchyard going to war, and then later in the churchyard after having survived war and dying of alcoholism. And then he sees Ebby across the table carrying this message to him. And he said, at long last, I saw Ebby carried a message to me. I felt, and then I believed. Does that make sense? So that's what they understood. All right. And then it says, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. That's what we did in 4. That's what we shared in 5. Right? Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs, which we discovered. And now we're back to page 76. And 76 says, if we can answer to our satisfaction, we then look at step 6. So if you got any questions in 1 through 5, whoever's helping you, let's go back and let's get clarity. You cannot move into a conscious relation without examining it with your logical senses and moving into it consciously. So there's no sense in trying to trick people into things, right? All right, so we have emphasized willingness as being indispensable. They do in the fellowships too, right? I won't work with you, you're not willing. Willingness is indispensable because it's divine power. I'm not going to have willingness till I ask for it and then walk out into it. How many of you got a dose of willingness that you didn't have before and found yourself doing things you said you would never do and then had it called to your attention? Well, that happens a lot in 12-step recovery. Anyway, so are we now ready to let God remove all these things which we have admitted are objectionable? Are we now ready? We're prepping for prayer and meditation, guys. Are we ready? And if we're not ready, then let's talk about what we are ready to do. Let's not talk about what we're not ready to do. Let's talk about what we are ready to do, because faith without works is dead. And it may, if you're willing to do this, maybe later you'll be willing to do that. It makes sense? So you're going to prioritize it. The book talks about to the wife, to the family, to the employer, and then others, right? Get a circle of support. And if any of those are not in your life, then whoever you're working with. Maybe it's your fellowship, maybe it's your church. I don't know who it is. But find something you are willing to do. Yes? Okay. And then can he now take them all, every one? How many of you agreed that he could take every one, but you wanted to pick the order? And the truth is, here, guys, we don't even know all the things that stand in the way. Some of the things we think are assets are in the way. And we don't even know our old ideas until we start serving others and see what our judgments are. Does that make sense? So Can you now take them all, every one? If we still cling to something we will not let go, we ask God to help us be willing. So those of you who thought I was making it up, the willingness is divine power. If it weren't, why would I ask God for it? It's divine power. Anytime I'm not willing to do something, okay, ask for it till it comes. Do what you are willing to do. Don't stay there, right? Okay, so then it says, when ready, we say something like this: my Creator, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. We've then completed step 7. One more thing I'll tell you, in our fellowships, people hand out cards with a third step prayer and an amen at the end of it. If you'll go back, you'll find out it is not there. And it's not there because the third step prayer was only half of the prayer. That was only asking for power to go inward and have my eyes opened. Now my eyes are open. Now I'm going to go out in the ministry. I'm going to go out in the world and complete what I've decided. And that's going to require power greater than me. It's going to require power, peace, happiness, and a sense of direction to guide me and tell me in all truth. Does that make sense? Yes, that's it. Next week, we'll look at 8 and 9.